Good evening to all and welcome to the session, the Hindu editorial analysis for proficiency in English. Today's editorial is about India's test series in South Africa. It starts on a negative note. How does it start? Unkept promise. Here, unkept is an adjective, and what is a noun? Usually, adjectives come before a noun. What is a noun here? Promise. Generally, when we talk about a promise, we say, keep your promise, keep up your word. That means to make that promise a reality. When someone does not do that, we say unkept promise. This word unkept talks about the promise. But what exactly is it about? On India's quest for a test series win in South Africa, there's an important word here quest. Quest means long search or arduous search for something not ordinary, extraordinary. Quest for excellence, a typical combination. Quest for a test series win in South Africa. But what is the main idea of this editorial? India is yet to beat. Yet to beat means India has not beaten yet, hasn't beaten, has not, hasn't beaten yet. India is yet to beat, not over, not beaten. South Africa in any away test series. Away test series means not playing in India, in some other country. India's quest for a test series win in South Africa remains an unfulfilled dream. Based on the main idea, it starts with India's quest. India noun, here it is a possessive case. Because singular, we have to use before the letter S. We have to use apostrophe before the letter S. Imagine the noun. Here, India is a noun. The noun is a plural noun, ends in the letter S. Then we have to use the apostrophe after the letter S. India's quest for what? For a test series win in South Africa remains. Here, how you have to look at the sentence, exam point of view. They may take the same sentence. India's quest, all these words you have to keep in brackets. A phrase. All these words, what is a term you can use? A phrase. India's quest, it is in present tense affirmative form and subject is third person singular quest. We have to add s or es to the verb. Based on that, India's quest remains an unfulfilled dream. Unfulfilled means not completed. Unfulfilled work, not completed work. In this context, unfulfilled dream. That is the reason why it starts with unkept promise. It provides the background information right from the 1992 to 93 tour when Nelson Mandela met Muhammad Azharuddin's men to the latest stint. Stint means period, latest time period. India brimmed with confidence but was fated to return empty handed. At the beginning, before starting, before playing, India brimmed with confidence. Brim is a verb, it is a regular verb. Brim means what? It has two or three meanings. It can be a noun as well. To touch the edge of a cup or to touch the edge of something, then we use the word brim. That means what? About to overflow. And brimming with confidence, a standard expression. Brimmed with confidence in the past means full of confidence. That's what it means. But was fated to return empty handed. But was fated. It is in past. And generally we use the word fate, noun. But in this context, what is the word fate? It is a verb. It is a regular verb. Fated means what? Destined. Destined to return empty handed. A return empty handed also an important expression you have to remember. A return empty handed means not to, without winning. You go to get something, you don't get it, then we say you returned empty handed. The latest tryst. The word tryst has many meanings, part of speech noun. In this context, one of the meanings also meeting meeting between two groups of people. In this context, two teams. I'll write it that way. The latest tryst means a meeting between India and South Africa in whites. In whites is a phrase. If you're not exposed to cricket, then you cannot make out. In this context, in whites means in tests. Tests, there's a code, dress code. They have to be in whites. In whites. Culminated. Culminate means what? To reach the final stage. To reach the final stage, we use the word culminated. In a one is to one stalemate. Stalemate means what? Deadlock, dead end. We can also say dead end. Usually, this word goes with chess. Draw. It has been drawn. Stalemate, even if all talk will revolve around the second game at Cape Town's Newlands being the shortest ever test at a mere 642 deliveries and concluding well within 2 days. Usually test 5 days and a lot of deliveries, first innings, second innings, a lot of deliveries. But people talk about whatever, when they look back, they talk about if all talk will revolve around the second game at Cape Town's Newlands being the shortest ever, the longest ever, the shortest ever. It is a phrase you have to remember. Shortest ever test at a mere 642 deliveries and concluding well within 2 days. Within 2 days, test got over. It doesn't happen that way usually. In a contest of excruciatingly, here it is an adverb, excruciate, excruciatingly means what? Painfully, severe pain, painfully. Small margins, narrow margins, very painful. Rohit Sharma's men prevailed with. Prevail upon usually takes a preposition upon. It has many meanings in this context. Prevail means dominate. Prevailed with a 7 wicket victory with speedsters means what? Fast bowlers. Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Siraj being the wreckers in chief. That's an important expression you have to remember. A wrecker means part of speech noun. It means a person or a thing that destroys. So you can say destroyer, a wrecker, destroyer. Wreckers in chief of the South African lineup. But having lost the earlier first set India lost, second test India won. Having lost, an important expression refers to something happened in the past. I will give an example. Having completed the work, having completed the work, I left the office. I left the office. This sentence talks about two things. First, I completed the work. Second, I left the office. Then I left the office. How do you express this situation in English? Having completed the work, I left the office. For the same idea, you can also use a combination of past perfect and past tense. First action, we should use past perfect. Second action, we should use past tense. What do you say? I had completed the work before I left the office. Both mean the same. An important word here, before. I had completed the work before I left the office. Having completed the work, I left the office. Here, same pattern, but having lost the earlier first test, India could only end up drawing level in the series. Because we lost the first test, though we won the second test, all that happened, it was a draw. India could only end up, That's an important expression you have to remember. India could only end up drawing level in the series. 1-1, that means drawing level in the series. The new land surfaced with erratic bounds. Erratic means not regular. Part of speech, adjective. Erratic, not regular. Erratic bounds and adequate juice for the seamers means fast bowlers. To excel, excel means what to do well. Tested the very best of willow wielders. Tested the very best of. That means to what extent? Here, willow wielders. Wield means to show, to exhibit, to use power, to show something. Willow actually, if you take cricket bats, they're made from the willow tree stem. So willow wielders in this context means batsmen. If you don't know that, very difficult to make out. Willow wielders means batsmen. It was a test, the very best of, tested the very best of willow wielders or batsmen. It is also a credit to KL Rahul, Dean Elgar, and Markram for having scored, again the same pattern, tons means 100 plus, through the two test series that was essentially a showcase. Showcase can be a verb, can be a noun. For the very showcase for the very best of fast bowling skills, the kind that Rabada and Bumrah exhibited. In a short form, embracing cricketing world. Embrace means it has many meanings. In this context, part of speech, embrace verb, it means adopt. You can also say accept something. Embracing cricketing world, tests not lasting 5 days is a cause for worry, and it also reveals a waning of batting skills. Short form embracing means what? Now people prefer T20s. If not one days, one days also a lot of people are not interested because once you get used to T20s, obviously one days look a little boring. And coming to test 5 days, who will sit and watch? In a short form embracing cricketing world, people want things to happen very fast. Tests lasting 5 days is a cause for worry. 5 days too long, people feel, once they get used to short forms. And it also reveals a waning of batting skills. Reveals. Reveal, part of speech verb, you have got many a time, means what? Disclose. Disclose, divulge, make public. Usually they go with information, secrets. It shows something. What does it show? A waning of batting skills. Here, waning, slowly disappearing, slowly disappearing of batting skills. Elgar, who just retired, or a Chateshwar Pujara, are all part of a dwindling breed of batters. Dwindle means to go down in number. Dwindle, part of speech verb, go down, get reduced in numbers, quality, dwindling standards, dwindling numbers, dwindling breed of batters. Means good batters, those who can play 5 days tests, the number has been coming down. Who could stay long at the pitch? 5 days means you have to have a lot of stamina and patience also. The current trend resting on a muscular approach. When it comes to T20, power is very important. That's what it means. The current trend resting on, depending on a muscular approach, makes for exhilarating viewing. Exhilarating viewing, here it is a noun, exhilarating adjective. Exhilarate, actually a verb. We can use a verb ing form as a noun. Here, exhilarating means exciting, exciting. But when batting lineups collapse, it is equally disconcerting. It may go this way or that way. If the batting lineups collapse, It is equally disconcerting, means what? Disappointing. You feel disappointing. And you get disappointed. You feel sad. In the larger scheme, India drew the T20s at 1-1. When you look at the broad framework, 2020s, one days tests, so far all about the test. Now, in the larger scheme, India drew. What is the verb here? Draw, present form, drew, past, and drawn, past participle. Drew the T20s at 1-1 again and won the ODI series at 2-1. India won the ODI series, but when it comes to T20s and tests, drawn, which became the prelude to the tests, something that happens before. Surya Kumar Yadav and Rahul led in the T20s and ODIs respectively. That means what? Surya Kumar Yadav in T20s and Rahul in ODIs. While Rohit turned up, turn up means show up, appear, phrasal verb. What is it? It is a phrasal verb. Show up, turn up. While Rohit turned up as a leader in tests. In a year that features tests against the visiting Englishmen, beside the ICC T20 World Cup in the Caribbean and United States, India is still figuring out the diverse building blocks for the three formats. India is still, an important word, still goes with affirmative form, yet goes with negative and negative interrogative forms. India is still figuring out, India is figuring out, present continuous tense. This goes with American English. British English, we say India is still making out. Means what? Figure out or make out means to understand. To understand. The diverse building blocks, different building blocks for the three formats. All the three formats, you cannot play with the same players. Based on the format, you have to choose the appropriate player. It is trying to understand whom to use, whom not to use. Rishabh Pant's absence forced the management to make Rahul don the wicket-keeping gloves in tests. In this context, don means to assume or to take on, to take on. The wicket-keeping gloves in tests, however, a contrasting word, it is never an ideal long-term strategy. For the timing, it may work. It is never an ideal long-term strategy. Ideal means what? Perfect. Ideal job, ideal time, ideal strategy means perfect strategy. Rohit, Virat Kohli, and Ashwin Jadeja are all hovering. Hover means to be in, to be in a particular position. Usually, it goes with a particular position in air. To be in a particular position in air for some time. In this context, to be at a particular stage are all hovering around the mid to late 30s mark. Mid 30s to late 30s means 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, mid 30s, late 30s mark, and a gradual walk towards a twilight seems inevitable. Twilight has two different meanings. Twilight, part of speech, noun. It can also be adjective. What does it mean? One meaning, imagine after the sunset, you have to know two terms. One is dawn, the other one dusk. Before the sunrise, the time before the sunrise, dawn. The time after the sunset, dusk. We also use the word twilight. Another meaning of twilight, obscure, slowly disappearing. And imagine initially someone very powerful, over a period of time, they slow down. Then twilight time, twilight zone, they have entered the twilight zone, the time for retirement. Seems it is in present. Based on that, we have to add s or es to the verb. Inevitable. Inevitable, we have got many a time. Inevitable means what? Like certain to happen. Certain to happen. Inevitable something. Certain to happen. There are injury woes. Woes means what? Problems. Part of speech, noun. There are injury woes too, like the one that kept Muhammad Shami out of the team. Out of the team, in the team. Two important phrases you have to remember. And as a squad means a team, in this context, it means what? The team boards the catches a return flight to India. The tale, in this context, generally also tale means what? Story. Part of speech, noun. The tale is about yet another South African tour, yet another, for emphasis it is used, that promised much and yielded little. Yet another South African tour that promised much. That's why it started with unkept promise and yielded little. Yield has two different meanings. One meaning produce. In this context, it means the same. Yield also means to surrender. We also use one important phrasal verb to mean surrender, given. And here you have to focus on yielded little. Little, a little, the little. Little means almost nothing, hardly anything. In this context, nothing. A little means at least some. Yielded little means nothing. That's all about this editorial. Thanks for being with me till the back end of the session. Today, because of the problem with the video, tomorrow, not tomorrow, Monday, we'll have as usual. I hope I would like to have the feedback regarding this approach. I'm writing the meanings, part of speech, important expressions while telling. While doing the analysis, I'm writing there itself. How do you find this? You can give the feedback. Thank you very much.